Hello, and welcome to
Take
two of episode 1 of Suddenly Dragon Studios
Game
review of Home. Because we recorded this once already and had our discussion and found out that Windows wanted us to use the other mic that doesn't work.
We had no audio.
It
was a video of us talking to ourselves.
We're going to do this again. So,
recap of what we're doing.
I guess. So what we're doing is we are looking to start a game studio. I guess not looking to. We're already working on it.
Yep.
Start a game design studio, and we are playing games and reviewing what we liked about them, what we disliked about them, what we can learn about them, and what we can implement in games that we design moving forward. And so, I mean, we'll pick games apart. It doesn't necessarily mean we didn't like them, but
it's an
we're just learning from them. We're looking at them completely from an analytical standpoint. So, I guess we can just dive right in. What do you guys want to start with? What you thought of Home?
Do we want to start with what we liked or what we didn't like? Because we know those are different.
On a high note, let's start with what we liked about it.
So, personally, I liked very much the storytelling aspect, which, as you guys know, and you guys will find out, I'm very much a stickler for story. I love being told a tale and being brought through it and having those emotions given to me to feel. And I really enjoyed the story, the tale that it told us. It was very much a surface level scratch of it, just because the immersion in the game, it doesn't tell you the whole story. You have to find it out on your own, and I like that mystery aspect of it. It kept me guessing and wondering.
It's really interesting, I thought, because they have you living or exploring, finding evidence of what happened. So you're in the present, finding evidence of what happened in the past that you can't remember, but the narrator is narrating from after you've finished the game. So you're in the present, finding evidence of the past with narration from the future, and it's very immersive, and it mixes everything up, and I thought the storytelling was really interesting, especially in a sense that it just gives you little tidbits here and there, and then on top of that you're experiencing things, and then the narration is adapting to what you're doing. Since the narrator's in the future, it's saying, oh, well, yeah, I went on and I went to explore the house, and I had a gun, and I was ready to go, and if I found anything, I was well defended. But if you didn't pick up the gun earlier, you didn't have a weapon to defend yourself with. And it was that. Yeah, and it very much adapted the narration to what you were doing, since the narrator was speaking from the future. So I thought the storytelling aspect was really, really interesting and different.
What you liked?
What I liked? I liked how you could discover things as you went, and it would always be, okay, now my character and the narrator know this. Now, I can assume this, and I can wonder that. There's a time where you find a vent, and it's like, oh, that's pretty high up. Somebody would have hurt their foot if they fell down. I've been limping this entire time.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Another thing I really enjoyed is, number one, I liked the two-dimensional pseudo 16-bit design. It was very simplistic, but it was really good at bringing across the story and the experience.
Yeah, the artwork was really good, but it was also in some places, I remember you mentioned this, the blood was...
We'll get to the things...
We'll get to the things we don't like. I will say with the artwork, the thing I did like was the color palette was very muted and dark and not bright at all. It really added to the horror atmosphere.
It reminded me a lot of film noir.
A little bit,
the
yeah.
40s, 50s black and white mystery films.
Yeah, and every
which
color
also
was
have
just muted and dull, and it really added to this.
But what's interesting is those also have that sort of future narration of the present.
It's true.
So maybe, what was it, Benjamin Andrews? The gentleman who
Uh,
designed the game?
Benjamin Rivers. I
Benjamin
think.
Rivers. Maybe he took inspiration from that, but I don't know.
Could be.
It was interesting.
One thing I thought about the visual style is while it was, because it was simplistic, you had to use your imagination to fill in the gaps. Which was,
Yeah, it's true.
Which is definitely something I like about books. So it was a very nice way of kind of incorporating the two. Because you've got really nice storytelling, but you also have to fill in the gaps.
You also get other good game examples that do that. Are like Silent Hill, because in Silent Hill there's this fog everywhere. And it really gives this eerie feeling of like, oh, did I see a shape in the fog off in the distance? What's following me? What's going on?
Am I even being followed?
And the funny part of that is that it originally, that fog on Silent Hill wasn't meant to be part of the horror aspect. It was actually the game designers trying to cut off the render distance visually. So
they didn't have to render everything.
Anyway,
or have it
other
disrupting.
games aside.
Anyway.
So, a lot of good things about Home.
A lot of good things about Home. I thought it was a really good game. Benjamin Rivers did a really good job with it. The music was really good. It really also added to that atmosphere and perpetuated the horror feeling. And I feel like it did a really good job also of posing not necessarily a in-your-face kind of scare type of
There was, I think, one jump scare.
There was one jump scare, and it was from a steam vent in the sewers bursting right next to your head as you walked by, I think.
Yeah.
That was about it. But it gave you this feeling of almost a far-away threat, where you're experiencing all these murders and these killings and finding dead bodies everywhere, and you're like, oh, what's going on? Where's the killer? And, so on and so forth.
It's kind of what I would expect somebody would feel if they stumbled upon the scene of a crime after everybody's left and the police haven't arrived yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on. They don't know everybody is left, but there's a whole bunch of dead bodies, and they might be somebody who's here. And even worse, in this story, you wake up surrounded by the scene crime. Yep. It's like, okay, what's going on here? Why am I here?
You and a flashlight.
Yep. Well, or a dance light.
Yeah. What? Yes. It was more Star Wars Cantina-ish.
Oh, okay. Anyway, what did you guys dislike about Home?
So I know we went over this in the previous
we
attempt to film
definitely
this.
went over this.
The creaky doors.
The creaky freaking doors.
The creaks, had they been placed strategically, would have been very well done. But it was loud, screechy, and just in your face the whole time. It was more of a nuisance than ambiance, in my opinion.
It wasn't, this door in particular is creaky. It is every single door in the game creaks. And the volume is just so loud.
Nobody oils
so
or greases
bad.
the hinges on anything.
Yeah. So that's the number one thing that I think could have been just dialed back a little bit. Turn the volume down. Make some of the doors have a normal opening sound. And then just throw in a creaky door when it matters.
Yep.
Like,
now,
we're going into an abandoned auto parts machinery. Okay, let's make the door really creaky to make it seem like if there's a killer in this auto parts factory, they know you're there.
Which I do know.
Use the creaky doors as a tool rather than just, here's this ambiance. Ambiance!
One thing I do know is the credits, we saw, a lot of the audio was taken from public domain sources.
It's true.
That being said, again, periodically.
Or even just change the volume on that one sound. Like, make the creak really silent for most of them.
And then just every
doors
once
are going
in a
to
while,
make noise when
really
they open.
creaky.
It's not always going to be loud, but it's going to be there.
Yeah.
So, quiet it down. Maybe make one door in particular. Like, I was thinking of the factory that had been abandoned for 3 years. Like, maybe make the creak really bad, or even go out and make your own sound of trying to basically force the door open when it's like almost collapsed on the concrete, so you hear it scraping against the ground.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. Again, we enjoyed the game. We're just analyzing what we can do. Benjamin Rivers, if you're watching this for some reason, did a good job.
We had a blast. And
we had a blast.
We're not horror gamers. We really aren't.
No.
Nope.
Oh.
I think in my playthrough, I even was saying that like last time I played a horror game was
Now.
now. And then later I was like, oh, well, Final Station is kind of a horror game, but that's more of an adventure platformer with a post-apocalyptic air to it.
The last horror game
Not
that I...
quite a horror game.
Last one that I tried was Alien Isolation, and I scared myself so bad that I couldn't get through the tutorial and uninstalled the game.
There
so...
you go.
Maybe we need to revisit it.
We are not
dear
horror gamers.
So that being said, this being a horror adventure, we still enjoyed it. It was a blast.
It was really good.
Anything
Anything else you guys didn't like about Home?
There is a point where you can disconnect, and that is, and I brought this up last time, I want to bring it up again, for sure, is if you decide that your character is the killer, and the only one involved, suddenly there's no danger at all. There's nothing out there that can hurt you because you're the one who did this.
You're the bad guy.
You are the bad guy. So
suddenly the present but distant threat is gone, and there's no reason to be worried.
I'd have almost maybe have put, like, maybe your character hears some police sirens basically visit the house that you just left. So it's like, okay, I might be the bad guy, but if I don't hurry up...
But the police are coming out.
Well, and that's the thing.
That would have been good.
We were walking out of the house, and at some point in my playthrough, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm walking out of a house with two dead bodies in it, with a revolver, at least I imagined it as a revolver, and a bloody knife. I am literally framing myself, whether I did this or not.
That was my thought as well, was... You find a bloody knife on the floor, and a dead body upstairs, and a gun.
And footage of that knife being used to stab two people.
I did not find
of two people stabbing someone.
Or, yes, of two people stabbing someone.
And so I'm like, I'm totally framing myself for this. Another thing is, I thought this was really clever. I was on my way from, I think it was the auto parts machinery, to my house, and it's leaving the woods. So as you're leaving the woods, you start walking, and I swear, because I was wearing headphones, I could hear whenever a sound happened, I could hear if it was coming out of the left or right ear. And I could hear coming from the right side, so I'm walking left, and I could hear footsteps behind my character. And normally through the game you can hear your footsteps, and it's just a steady... But I could hear footsteps that were slightly off count of mine, like... So it was like somebody is following me, and I don't like this, so I went backwards. Made sure there wasn't anybody, and then went back. So that was good. There are just little things like that in horror games that I think are really good.
Yeah. Subtle
contributions to the atmosphere and the events that are happening. So
there's sorry, I want to bring this up again. The blood. Yes. This is what I was going to bring up before. This was one of those little things that really also helped to disconnect. It's what was supposed to be dried blood. What I got the feeling it was supposed to be dried blood was too brown. It looked like dirt. Maybe reddish dirt, but dirt.
It was mud.
It was mud. And fresh blood looked reddish orange. And it's like, okay, somebody spilled hot sauce all over themselves. And they're not moving. They're taking a nap in hot sauce.
And that's where the color palette could have used some changes. Was the blood could have been a little bit
What would have
more
been
red.
really interesting is if the entirety of it was kept that muted shade, except bright, stark blood.
Yeah, like
that would have been really interesting.
If the whole color palette was muted and dark, and then the blood was just a bright, like cherry red.
This is a bit of a segue, but in Schindler's List, if either of you have seen that, the entire film is in black and white, with the exception of a girl's pink coat. And
Okay.
it is a movie about the Holocaust. So keep that in mind if you ever watch that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is the only bit of color in that film, and it worked excellent.
All right.
Anyway, so moving on. What did you guys experience in home that you think would be that you would want to implement in any games that we design moving forward? Do you want to start?
Yeah, because there's really only one thing that I'm gonna probably bring up that you guys might not, and that was in the middle of basically my search of the house. I remembered watching a video on sounds below the human hearing that can affect your emotions. And the idea of putting one of those sounds in the background of a game or in portions of a game to make you feel anxious without really having a reason why, or at least an obvious reason why, at least to the player. So that would definitely be something I'd look into if we were ever making another horror game.
Just start playing a game and get the feeling that something's wrong.
Something's wrong here.
Yeah.
Something I really enjoyed and I'd want to do is very much sort of the divergent storylines almost.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially, and I know we went over this, but I found the girls in the woods, the bodies.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
guys-
so in the forest you find a campsite with the fire is still smoldering a little bit, and there's a couple of chairs and one of them's knocked over like they left in a hurry, and I got turned around and lost in the forest, so I guess in home you can actually find like the bodies of
I
the
found
two
a
girls that were in
really
the campsite.
raggedly dug grave site. So in game, I sort of did up the grave site, set a marker there, something for them, and moved on. But I know neither of you guys found it. Along with,
No, I didn't find it. I got lost in the
I
woods.
freed the mouse.
Yeah, I
You freed the mouse
I left
from
the
the mouse
mouse.
trap.
And he died.
Chad
I
left
went
the
into
mouse in the
another
mouse
room,
trap.
and then I felt bad, so I went back to free the mouse, and the cat got it. So,
So it's sort
yeah,
of a divergent little nuances. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be big. It doesn't have to hit the story.
little
It might.
experiences.
But the little things that you
Yeah.
can do differently each playthrough that might.
I completely
for sure,
missed
subtly
the
change.
train station that you found. I didn't find that at all.
Yeah, so I went to the train station. I didn't take the receipt for the train tickets though.
I had the
so
receipt.
I went and explored the train station.
And I'm like, there's a
yeah, I
factory.
didn't find.
Of course, at that point,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm the murderer. So,
like,
yeah.
I don't need a train station. I want to go kill someone
Actually, I
else.
didn't even know that was there. I'm like, well, my goal is to get home, so I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
get
go
home.
home.
All right.
Get out of here. Cool. So, what do you think that you learned about game design from home?
So, again, this is take two. Everyone, please forgive us.
We're
But
saying a lot of stuff that we said last
Audio.
week, but
the audio definitely can make and break a game.
yeah,
That
for sure.
You know, the creaky doors. Yeah, it was a pain, but the soft, subtle sounds, the
in
footsteps,
other places,
the rustling of leaves, it
yeah,
was really
for
good.
sure. The audio really contributed to the atmosphere. Just the doors. That was just the one thing that
Yeah.
we keep bringing it up, but that's how like loud and jarring they were. Was that the doors were super creaky. But like all the other audio in the game was super good. It was really subtle. You get rustling leaves in the background as you're walking through the forest. It makes you feel like there's something in the woods that could come after you, or you're like in the auto parts factory, and like just you hear creaking and stuff moving around, or like pipes, just general background sounds that really help to kind of contribute that this is an abandoned warehouse, or not warehouse but factory. And I think the audio was really good. One thing I'd say that I really liked, that I think is a really good game design tenet, is the ability to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And so all through the whole story, all the narration, all the story elements, there was always a choice. Never have I seen a game that was so adventure-based and like it's a horror adventure, but the story is very fluid, and you can mold it almost with the choices that you make. And even at the end, it straight up, right away, asks you, when you find a pile of rags, the narration straight up just says, "Did I find Rachel?" And it's like, "Did you find your dead wife or not?" And so the narration just punches you right in the face with it, like, you're in the basement of your house, and you found a pile of bloody rags. Is this your wife or not? And I'd actually be interested to play through it again and say no.
We all said yes.
We all said yes. We all said that it was Rachel.
And we all took 3d6 emotional damage.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens if you don't choose it to be Rachel. What is it? Is it the body of somebody else? Is it just bloody rags that you use to clean up? Or, what happens? And
Or do you refuse to even look in the rags and you just walk away?
So that's my point, is I really liked the amount of choice and the amount of an impact that you have on the story through the whole thing. I thought that was really
That's kind of
good.
the point of what you're looking for in games. If you want a story told to you, you watch a movie.
Or you play
If
Call of Duty.
If you want to...
Call of Duty has some story.
But if you want to
Nobody
experience and help shape the story, you play a
Yeah.
game.
You play games when you put yourself into the shoes of another person or another experience, and something that you normally wouldn't otherwise experience. So,
What I would take away from this game is definitely along the lines of yours, as well as the choice thing, but also to be aware of what choices are we giving the player, and is there a choice like the one that I came out of, where my character was the killer, so I had nothing to worry about. Like, keep an eye out for, is there a choice in this game, in this horror game, that removes the horror entirely?
yeah. I think, and that's another good point, is what, not only what choices are we giving the player, but also what choices are the players taking for themselves. So there's no part in the game where it says, was I the killer? There are a few narration lines where it was like, oh, I think I might have done this. But there was no explicit, was I the killer or not? But the player can still say, oh yeah, I totally did this. All the evidence points to me. I was in the house, unconscious. I was obviously in a fight, killed the dude, found the gun, found the bloody knife, and let's go find my house and then book it out of town. Type of thing.
Yep.
But so it's not just the choices that we're explicitly giving players, but also what choices are the players taking for themselves.
Yeah.
So I like it. Sweet. So what from home what one thing would you change if you could work with Mr. Benjamin Rivers and make home 1.1?
Or one.
What would you change in a new rev of it? What one thing about the game would you change if you had the chance to?
So, my go-to answer would be the blasted doors, but...
Let's try and veer away from that,
Yes,
because we've said enough
I'm
about the doors already.
I'm well aware.
We are literally beating a dead door.
A horse-shaped door?
Could be. Anyway.
So, I'd actually probably extend it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know there's, at the end of the game, you run into the choice. Did I leave the house, or did I commit suicide there? I selected leave the house. I'd be interested to see...
Well, I think there's a choice to stay, too.
There, if so...
Something.
My God,
Anyway,
okay.
you have a choice at the end of the game,
I'd be
whether you
curious
run
to
off into the
see-
sunset or not.
sort of where the protagonist's psychology went from there. Because
It'd be really interesting.
Yeah. we see that future narrative of the present. At what point do we catch up to that future narrative? And what are the thoughts of the protagonist at that point?
Yeah.
So that's what
That'd
I'd
be really
add.
interesting. I think to that point, it'd be really interesting to see how that's executed too, because it's really easy to set up the game to just change a few lines of text based on what actions that you've taken. But changing, like, setting it up so that here's the game 1.1 starts from here, what has happened in the past, and then also writing that storyline moving forward based on those past events. One thing I'd change is to take out the puzzle aspects, because the puzzles weren't very good. They weren't even puzzles, I'd say. But in a horror adventure game, I'm already wandering through these sewers with creepy noises everywhere. I don't want to wander through 4 different rooms, turning valves to shut off the water when you go back and the water's still there, and then you go back to find out that some of the valves, you have to turn them 3 or 4 times in order for them to stop water. And so, and the same thing in the auto parts factory. To get the power turned back on, you have to go through the factory and find the switches, the breakers, and you have to, like, flick them multiple times in order for the breaker to actually turn the power back on. And it seemed like a repetitive, almost meaningless task, when it would have been better to just say, hey, wander through this creepy sewer and find all the valves and shut them off. Don't make me turn them 3 or 4 times, because I'm going to turn it once, go back and find out there's no water, and then go back and turn it until it freaking breaks the pipe almost. I think one way, and even if you want something like that, instead of removing the puzzle altogether, make it so that you have to be careful. Impose upon the player this need of being cautious. So if you turn the valve and it doesn't shut off the water, and you turn it again, and you turn it again, and you keep turning it, maybe don't stop the player from turning it once it shuts off the water, but if they turn the valve too much, start flooding the sewers. And they gotta get out then and there. And so then you put them in this rushed, anticipation-filled horror situation. Instead of being annoying, these water valves then become an aspect of the game that really starts to get the player's adrenaline pumping. And then when you get out of the sewers into the woods, your adrenaline's already there, and you're about to jump when the leaves rustle in the woods, and you're just like, there's a wolf! What? type of thing. So get the adrenaline pumping, and then, throw them into another situation where that excess adrenaline really just throws the horror overdrive. So that's one thing I think I would do.
What I would do, I've got like 2 of them, but I can't. But I'm having a hard time choosing one.
Yeah, just give us both.
On the one hand, I would probably have something like the police showing up at the house after you've left. Like, after you've left the sewers, you hear the police go up to the first house.
Store.
No, not even that. Like, the first house you are in.
When you wake up.
Oh,
when you wake up.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
So, if the player has come to the conclusion that they are the murderer, suddenly, okay, they've got to go. Even if they don't show up after every time you leave, even if they only show up
just
after you've left that one first time.
Just to create a sense of urgency.
Exactly. And the other one is possibly at key moments show a flashback or something to the character's life with Rachel. Because there were some points where I'm like, okay,
I've heard of this Rachel,
I've heard of
but
this
I don't
Rachel.
know.
I have no feelings for this Rachel.
Yeah.
The character has feelings for this Rachel, but I have no idea who she is. I have no idea how she acts. I have no idea what relationship exists between these two.
And the thing is, you also never see Rachel either. You find her body, but really on the screen it's just a pile of rags, and that's it. So I agree on that. There could have been a lot more connection from the player to Rachel, because I mean, character to character, your character, has been married to Rachel for however long and knows her very well.
Well, see, that's kind of the point. We don't know how long they're married.
We don't get that connection to them.
Are they happily married? Are they, is things a little stressed?
Yeah.
Were
I
things
think that would've
happy
been really
until
good.
the factory shut down? You know, what's going on?
Yeah, what's happening? Sweet. Any final comments?
It was a good game. I enjoyed it.
think it was a really
I
good
want to
game.
go through and play it
Yeah.
again.
I
The
will.
achiever in me wants to go through and play it again and make all the choices. All the choices that I didn't, just to see
Fair
what
enough.
happens.
But
Uh,
yeah, that's what we've got on
Anyway.
home. If join us next time.
yeah, so we will actually be playing through a run of Dungeon of the Endless
We're
as our
probably-
next analysis. I swear I can words today. And I asked Peyton this already, but I want your opinion as well. I think we should go through a full lineup of Amplitude Studios games. Because Dungeon of the Endless is the first chronologically. There's
Uh-oh.
Endless Legend, Endless Space 2.
Uh-oh. Alright, why not? Let's do this.
Sounds good.
So,
Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So stay tuned for
One
Playthrough
really
of-
long, endless
Dungeon of the Endless. We'll call it the Endless something.
Saga.
endless saga.
The Endless Saga. That
endless
works.
gaming.
Especially
Anyway.
considering as 3 of those 4 games are all turn-based strategy games.
Oh.
It's true.
Needless to say, we'll be uploading a great many videos. Join us next time.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, concerns, comments, do the YouTube stuff.
YouTube.
We've got the likes and the favorites and the ads over here, and
Stop pointing to stuff that I'll have to put in later.
no, there's no. YouTube will add the ads over there. You don't have to
Or
add
right here.
Yeah,
There's
or
probably
right
a
here.
banner ad right here. Then we'll have maybe like put an
Anyway,
annotation over the face.
we're wasting your
Why?
time at this point.
Anyway,
Have
if
a
you liked
lovely
it,
evening.
like it. If you
morning.
disliked it, dislike it. If your thoughts are more complicated, then thumbs up or thumbs down. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you want to see our other stuff. And
Thanks for joining Suddenly Dragon Studios.
dun, 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 marker.
Mark.